Good evening, everyone. Welcome in. I've been looking forward to this one for quite some time. Clemson Tigers talk for the next hour. We invite you to join in with your comments, your questions, your debate topics for... Got Brian Knight there on the top. You can catch his YouTube channel, Bobby Durkins. But Brian Knight with us tonight, along with DeAndre of BGPO Football Funk. There, I got it right. Wow. And then, of course, Pigskin Pete had to join us as well. Of course, catch him right here on YouTube. And if you don't know who these gentlemen are, please check out their YouTube channels, and I will get the banners up there to let you know where you can find them. But again, this is driven by all of you out there, so please provide your questions and comments, and we will jump on and talking some Clemson football for the next hour. But unfortunately, guys, as you guys well know, any football talk is related to one of two other subjects over the last either several weeks or several months when it comes to COVID-19 and when it comes to race relations in this country. So Clemson players took a very important stand yesterday and half for the last several weeks, but specifically yesterday. Pigskin, I'll start with you in regards to your thoughts about the Mike Jones Jr. Led protest march on Saturday on campus.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because I live too far away. I wish I could have been there, but from what I know, Mike Jones Jr. This was his idea, and this started over a week and a half ago, where he started organizing this and getting not only a lot of players, or all the players pretty much, but the entire coaching staff, including Dabo Sweeney. I know Trevor Lawrence is one of the guys that helped out with this as well. So I think over 3,000 people is what I heard showed up to this thing yesterday. They had 4 or 5 guys that made the news because they showed up in their pickup trucks with Rebel flags on them, and that seemed to be more important to the Twitter and Facebook world than the actual peaceful protest was, which is pretty sad. But anyway, everything went well as far as I know.
Because, of course, there's some kind of conflict or confrontation involved, and so that's a little bit more interesting to the news media.
Right.
Any thoughts about this one, Brian, in regards to what you've seen come out of Clemson camp the last several weeks?
The first one thing that I can say I'm really proud of is that in this unrest, the country has got to see not just the great football program on the field that Sweeney has built. They have got to see the solidarity not only between he and his players, but the Clemson community. And that was really, really amazing to me. And I mean, 2 weeks ago, I'm talking to Pigskin Pete and we're going, how is this going to end? I mean, really, how is this going to end? Everything going on. People were upset at Sweeney because he didn't reply on this subject or that subject quick enough. And it was just darts coming out of every left field, right field, everywhere. And then we see this beautiful team who loves each other, and this community come together who loves each other. And these guys are proving that they care for each other no matter whether they're wearing a jersey or not. And that the community buys into his vision for not only the football team, but for the structure of their lives and the quality of their lives. So I think, if anything, the Clemson brand, 2 weeks after this a lot of horrible stuff has happened, we now see that not only is it great, it's way better than we ever thought it was. And I'm very proud to be pulling for a team that's led like Sweeney and a lot of the good guys on this team. It's a big deal. So it was a great moment for them.
Hey, DeAndre, if you would have joined a show here with a capable host, I would have had you comment first for obvious reasons. Maybe your word a little bit more relevant than the rest of us right now, but we certainly want to hear from you.
Well, like I said with Pigskin Pete, I grew up in a law enforcement house, parents, families in the military. My uncle worked in the Southeast DC, back in the drug area in the 80s. I worked law enforcement as correctional program supervisor, and I come across this all the time. I mean, I've been stopped for people saying, hey, you driving in this area, what you doing here and stuff like that. Some of that stuff does need to change, but most cops are good people. You just got some bad apples that made them look bad. But, my main concern is if we really, as African Americans, Hispanics, minorities, period, have an issue with this, we need to go out there and vote before we can make change. And that's part of the problem. We don't vote. I'm not going to get on a political stance here, but the people that's running for president, I don't have nothing in common with them. Why are we letting these guys run and be president? I don't care if it's Trump or Biden, but we're voting for these guys and they don't have nothing in common with us. They're old, they're rich, and they're white. We need to vote for people that we can relate to what's going on in our society now. And they don't relate, and they don't care. They're about special interests. But I'm glad what Clemson is doing and people doing what they're doing across the nation. I don't agree with the riots or the looting. We need to protest, go out in the street, have sit-ins, sit on the ground, something like that, instead of always trying to, don't let these people that are rooting and looting represent the movement that we're trying to do with police reform.
Just to be clear here, I'm rich. I don't know about the other two check marks. I just wanted you guys to know.
Yeah, me too.
Just so we cleared that up.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate all three of you joining here. When I wanted to do Clemson, so the deal is basically for anybody that watches me on a fairly regular basis is we've got Ohio State, Florida State, and Miami. Yeah, I know, boo. Ohio State, Florida State, and Miami. I'm picking some of the worst teams possible, I know, for a Clemson live stream to bring those schools up. But those live streams on a regular basis, people are always throwing out, why don't you do Michigan? Why don't you do Clemson? On and on and on down the line. Hey, I would love to do 130 live streams a week with each individual team, if you know what I'm trying to build here. But of course, Clemson is arguably the best football program in the country. Easily, it was easy for me to think, hey, who do I want on this Clemson live stream? Bam, Pigskin, Brian, DeAndre, let's get him in here. Let's talk Clemson football for an hour. But definitely that needed to be addressed. Kind of along the same lines, and Brian touched on this to a certain extent. I wanted to get your take. Try to put the orange aside. Try to take off the orange for just a bit, because I don't understand the criticism of Dabo Sweeney for any reasonable person to criticize and attack. Yeah, could things always be done better in hindsight in almost any situation? Yes, it's easy to criticize and throw rocks after the situation's already developed. There's already been issues to say, oh, I would have done this and I would have done that. We have tons of people in social media, you guys see them every day, that are self-righteous and everybody else is wrong, and they are easy to point out people's mistakes. I'm neutral in this situation, and I'm not saying that I read every word, I listened to every word, I ran down the chronology of everything that happened, but I stayed on it pretty well, and I don't see any issues with the way Dabo Sweeney's running his football program, and certainly his football players have come to his defense, and it's much like some other situations that have involved football people, where I would, rather than criticizing and critiquing and just measuring every word, look at the guy's track record. Look at what he's done. I would love to give people the benefit of the doubt until they show themselves to be a certain person repeatedly, or at least twice, or once or twice or three times, to say, this is who this person has been. And they've been in the spotlight for 2009, 11 years. So we should know this person pretty well. He runs a football program. This day and age, that is not an easy thing to do. And Pigskin, he seems to be doing a pretty damn good job of it, both on the field. Obviously, we don't have to talk about that, but in regards to building these guys as young men.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Pigskin Pete. I see on the comments some guys, people are saying that Dabo is racist. We don't know this guy personally. We don't know if the guy's racist or not. He's recruiting 90% of his players are black, and most of the people that come out to him is talking about him are black people. Just like Danny Ford, he came and sat at my house. I mean, I was 3 or 4 years old at the time. I don't think the guy's racist. We don't know these people personally. We just see them on TV every Saturday, But I apologize, Pigskin.
That's all right. I was going to say, from a football perspective, it's easy to understand why people are always on Dabo's coattails and making character assassinations because they just want Clemson to go away. There's a lot of people out there that are just angry that Clemson's even in the conversation with the Ohio States and the Alabamas and the Georgias of the world. And they'll do anything they can to try to discredit what he's built there. So that's the football side of it. If you're going to learn anything about somebody's character, you have to go to the people that they spend day after day with, year after year with. The players and the coaches, which have overwhelmingly come out to support him and say that this is it's asinine. This character assassination is going on with him. He's certainly not racist. He's anything but that. And the third part of this probably the most disturbing part of it is there's been a shift in our country where being outwardly spoken about, outwardly vocal rather about your faith, if you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever it is, people automatically want to shut you down for that. Which I'll never understand this. I've said 100 times, I'm not a religious guy. I don't go to church every Sunday, but I'm also not going out attacking people that are. And anytime anybody that uses the word God or the faith or whatever, they automatically get jumped on. It's the weirdest thing, and I don't really know where it comes from. So I think that has a lot to do with it too, just how open he is about his faith.
I would like to address something in the comments. Someone wanted to know if Christian Slater was in the top right-hand corner, and the reply is absolutely. No. You guys just knocked the ball out of the park here. And DeAndre, first of all, I want to tell you this. I've got family in law enforcement. I have family in law. I won't give away the town because it's just, how people are. You say it out loud on the internet, on social media, and people will find them and start harassing them. But I actually have a family member who's the chief of police in that very close to Clemson area. And I want to tell you, I appreciate your service and what your family has done because you see both sides of things very well, and I do appreciate that. I think that, how do I say this? I think that the word racist needs to stop being thrown around so quickly. It's one thing to say, I think you're an idiot. You could call somebody an ass. That's one thing. But to call someone a racist because they did not move in a way that you wanted them to do, and this is for any race, by the way. This is not exclusive to anybody. This is race. Calling someone a racist is truly damning who they are, their reputation, and could keep them from being hired, could keep them from being employed, could keep them from being able to provide for their family. So until you know that someone is truly racist, drop the dialogue. Wait until they do something truly racist. Now, I know I'm going to get attacked for that, but I'm a big boy, and tonight I'll sleep just fine beside my hot wife and 2 pillows. I'll be fine. But with all of that said, Sweeney has his players coming out believing in what he's done. And like you said, we're not seeing some type of, there's something 10 years ago that we were trying to keep hush hush. And there was another thing the very next year, and another thing, kind of like you were alluding to, Mark. If something bad was going on, especially in the social media age, it would have come out a lot. So, though I agree with you, DeAndre, 100%, I don't know his heart. I mean, my God, I don't know his heart. But I don't believe he is a racist. And I think that card has been thrown around on a lot of people because it's the quickest way to try to intimidate people and try to discredit them and what they've done. And then when you see a group of and I know he's from all different races, but mainly you see a lot of black players coming out going, this man's like a father to me. I have never seen anything other than he loves me and cares for me unconditionally. And then to see them go after pro athletes who are saying stuff like Shannon Sharp tweeted out something today. Xavier Thomas goes, okay, man, you're reaching. I'm done. I'm done. I mean, he is talking to a Hall of Famer telling him, I'm done. That is the team that he's built up, and he's only done it through being an actual, legitimate, genuine person.
No, it's a great point that you make about, boy, that's a damning word to throw at people, and people just do it so lightly and conveniently now, just to shut people up. Just if they don't like something that was stated, let's not have a conversation or a discussion, or let me shut up for 5 minutes and actually listen to you and see what you have to say and let you explain, or let's have a discourse. You know, I had, I'll share these two quick nuggets for you guys in that same realm. So just a few minutes, or just a few days, I should say, probably after the George Floyd incident, somebody contacted me on Twitter. Somebody tweeted it. They couldn't just contact me directly. My inbox is right there. You can direct message me. No, they had to throw it out there for the world to see. I didn't know who this person is. They must watch me to make this statement. They just flat out said, Mark, by your silence, you're showing us you're a racist. Bam.
Yeah.
So I responded to them that, first of all, they're ignorant, because I typically use Facebook as more of a social platform. Not that I'm some big social activist, but I had made several posts on Facebook about my thoughts and feelings about the protests and about the cause and race relations and so forth and so on. I just didn't use Twitter to do it. So, of course, this guy jumps to conclusions. I did my best to actually point out to him what the term prejudice means. It means you're prejudging me. You know nothing about me. And two other guys jumped on and said the same thing initially when he made that claim. So by three people's definitions, I was a racist, having said nothing on that platform. Again, limited information, and they're running to conclusions. And then there was a back and forth that I had with three gentlemen on Facebook, and I flat out told them, I'm going to leave my phone number, because our little clever back and forth and you dropping memes and trying to be cute in this series of a discussion and making claims that aren't true, I'll leave my phone number in your instant messenger. We can talk about it. I'll talk to you directly. And man, after they were just shooting the clever lines at me, suddenly didn't hear anything from those three individuals, because I actually wanted to have and said I would have a conversation with them.
Mm-hmm. And that's the way social media works. You can't argue with people on there. What they're looking for is, like you just said, looking for an I got you type situation.
But
I try to ignore it.
Excuse me. But going back to about racism, growing up here in the South, like about a month ago, my car broke down, raining real bad, and 3 o'clock in the morning, some guys with a Confederate flag drives up and says, "Hey man, you all right?" I was sitting here like, I'm a black guy in the South, like, this dude's asking me I'm all right. And he actually gave me a ride home. So, you know, we are quick to prejudge. I mean, where I live at is by a highway. I seen a guy with a Confederate flag on this bumper crash. While my neighborhood's majority black, a lot of people ran out there to help him out. So we don't know how people are until you actually sit down and talk to them. You know, and that's part of the problem in our society. We always yelling at each other instead of sitting down saying, "Hey man, let me talk to you. Let me try to understand where you're coming from. You try to come where I come from," instead of criticizing the ideal of the person. Try to get where they come from, because, hey man, we all just love football. I don't know y'all from Apple in the sky. Y'all could be wife beaters for all I know. But I know, hey, you know, I don't know that. And that's what I'm saying. We need to stop judging people as in this country. The Floyd thing is obviously that guy sat on the guy's neck. He's wrong. There need to be changes in the police department, prisons, everywhere. There need to be changes in these environments. So that's
Let
what
me make a statement to you three, because you guys are in the deep South. I'm not. I lived there for 6 years in Mississippi. But other than that, I've been in the North. And I'll make a statement about the Confederate flag and get your response, because I want to be educated here. I'm guessing that you generally have two groups of people that tote Confederate flags around. One, truly racist people. Number two, people that are just, they love the heritage of the South. There is a certain community, a certain cohesiveness, a certain chemistry, a certain, again, sense of community among the South that doesn't exist in other parts of the country. You can't go out west and people are like, oh, we're from the West, let's all group together and, you know, we share that ideal. Or from the Midwest, maybe that would be the closest, the Midwest, but it doesn't come close to the South. It doesn't exist in other parts of the country. And I think that's the Civil War outcome, and everything that happened has something to do with it. But there's no question that some people that carry a Confederate flag and boast it are racist. Others, I'm guessing, I'm just throwing this statement out here as a theory, they're just entrenched in Southern lifestyle, and that's just kind of part of it. And they need to detach from it and be told, you know, unfortunately, this offends some people, but they're not poor, you know, they're not ill-intended, that's not their intent.
I can tell you this because I'm first generation Southerner. I was born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina, but my parents and the rest of my family is from up north. So I wasn't raised with sort of this Southern pride thing by my parents because they didn't have Southern pride. But I can tell you this much, living here my whole life, this is the most shocking part about this. Yes, there's a lot of people that fly Confederate flags around here, always have. You'd be surprised how many black families fly Confederate flags around here. I'm talking about this. They consider that to be their heritage. They're, you know, multi-generational people in this area. And who am I to tell a black person they can't fly a Confederate flag? I mean, come on now. I'm not, especially since I'm not really a Southerner. My parents are from the North. So it's a weird dichotomy. I mean, I understand all angles of it. Quite honestly, I understand the people that say it's their heritage. I understand that if you're a black person and you get offended by it, who am I to say you can't get offended by anything? So now I personally don't fly it because I'm not a Southerner. But I sort of see all angles of it.
Being a history major, I will put it like this to you. I see all 3 points, 3 sides to it. Is it about racism? Yes, because that's what slavery and also the civil rights movement. There was people that was against the civil rights movement who used that flag. Also, I see when I have friends on it, it's about the overreach of the federal government. And if you talk to a lot of black historians, they will say also the federal government messed up the black community in certain ways that it didn't help. And the third way, there's just some ignorant people out there in the world who just hate black people, and they never sat down to talk to them and understand where they come from. And some of them are in the same boat as those people that they hate. I mean, that's the best way I could put it. Like, why you hate me? Well, because I don't know, because you're black. Why? It's just a piece of skin. And I understand where Southerners come from when they say Swaggy Wags or Carpetback came down here and stole their land back in the day from their ancestors, and that's where the overreach come from, and that's what the flag represents. But it's not always right. There's just some people that is hate. But also, why are we fighting about something that happened when none of us was on this earth? I didn't know those people. We've been here on this earth. We depend on each other. We all are. We need each other in this world, economy-wise, walking down the street. Why are we fighting a war that happened over 400 years ago, I think? Why are we still fighting this war? And that's part of the problem in our society. We're still fighting this war today, and that's part of our problem. We need to move on as a society, and how can we make it better? How can we beat COVID? How can we improve the economy? You know, teach our kids the right way to do it. So that's what I look at in our society today. Hey, the Confederate flags, why? The Confederate monuments, why I got to pay tax money as a black man to keep them up? Put them in a museum. Don't destroy them. Keep them in a museum and let those people that want them keep them up, and let me come visit and go look at what your ancestors might have went through. See the other side of the story. Because when the Republicans left black people, they left us to the horrific terrors of the Klan and the Democratic Party that suppressed us. And then they try to come back. They just switch. The Democrats are for us. So I see all sides of it.
You know what? After DeAndre said, especially near that last part, I think he just fixed everything in society. We can go ahead and end this, and we can call it a day. That's the truth, DeAndre. being a, and we were talking about this right before we started this show. Of course, me being Bobby Durkins, there's still people who believes Bobby's real, and I think that's awesome. I must be doing a good job, or they're just not paying attention. But anyway, you know, we were talking about where you live, and I visited that area before, and you asked me, you said you've been deer hunting, and I grew up right there outside of Clemson. I've never been deer hunting. My accent says I've been deer hunting. My accent says that I love country music today. My accent tells you a lot of things about you. My accent tells you that I probably can't add well. My accent tells you a lot of things about me that are absolutely untrue. And I think that what you said, God, it was beautiful. Why are we fighting over something that happened many, many years ago? Why don't we take each other at face value? If there is a subject that we need to talk about, and it might get uncomfortable, it might hurt, how about we do it? And how about we deal with each other now? That was beautiful. I mean, that's it. That's how I look at life. My oldest is biracial. My best friend growing up, and he's a family member, and I know that's what white people say. They got black friends. No, seriously, I'm sorry. That's my life. He's like a brother to me, literally, physical brother. Grew up in the projects, man. I grew up with a cow pasture in the front yard. Don't tell me who I am, and I won't tell you who you are. And I think what you said really sums that up. At the end of the day, we are people who needs to start thinking for ourselves and start valuing each other based off of right now. And if we need to have a difficult conversation, my God, let's do it. Let's do it for the love of God and for the love of humanity. Let's do it. But let's stop basing our opinions off of each other based off of a time that none of us were alive. Our parents weren't alive. A lot of our grandparents weren't alive. I'm not saying crap hasn't happened then and even now. But what you said. So you said it great. That really fired me up. I was really happy to hear that. I'm just going to shut up and calm down.
Absolutely well stated by both of you. This seems to be part of the problem right here. So Buck Squad podcast, Mark, you are wrong on this one. People in power need to speak out, not be silent. First of all, did I say anything close to that? If somebody thinks that I'm a person in power, wow. Please, let's discuss this. Yeah, you're giving me way too much credit. Number one. Number two, I wasn't silent. Number three, this is the problem. We can't have, and I made this point, we had a race relations conversation a few weeks ago, that we've got into this, everything has to be right or wrong. We can't just say, you know, Brian, man, I respect you, everything you know, any kind of interactions we've had, everything's been great, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really agree with what you said. Can you explain it to me? And even if you explain it to me and I'm like, yeah, I really don't agree with that, but we're still good. We're still good. Because everything else adds up and you're a good guy. But I see it this way. And we can't just leave it at that we disagree on something. It always has to be, you're wrong. It can't be, I just kind of disagree with that. I don't see it that way. I would do it different, or I would have said that different, or we can't do that anymore. There's no room for disagreements. It's always, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
There's an arrogance and a pride about that. And I'm a guy, I like being right. I really do. Like my cousins and my family always picked at me growing up because I would just care about being right. You know, I just wanted to be right. I didn't care at what cost. I just wanted to be right. And as I got a few more gray hairs in my beard and I got married, imagine what happened there. I had to figure out that sometimes being right, okay, not sometimes, a lot of times we do need truth. Truth is your best friend. Truth is my best friend. But when I take truth and I gut you with it, we got an issue because now truth has become a weapon. Truth is not there to help you anymore. It's to beat you down, put you in your place, and now I'm the man. And I don't like that approach. And I have faced that same, what you talked about there. I faced that myself. And I just have to I have to consider the source of the insult. If it's a person who's really wanting to fix things, let's talk. If it's a person who's just going out here and trying to emasculate me, I'm done. Conversation over.
Good stuff from all of you guys. Certainly, if you have anything else to say on the subject, we don't need to move on. But we are going to talk some Clemson football this hour. We are going to get to it. We're about halfway through, and it is a good thing for me to bring on guests like this that care and have good things to say regarding football and life as well. So we got Pigskin Pete right below me. If you are not subscribed to Pigskin Pete, just go ahead and do that. Right here on YouTube, Pigskin Pete. You got Brian Knight, a.k.a. Bobby Durkins. There he is. Yeah, he gave us the smile. We gave us a glimpse right there. And you got DeAndre, who calls me all the time. Love the phone calls from DeAndre. We could talk about 80s and 90s football forever. Should bring him on to do some videos. Man, we could dissect every national championship. DeAndre, I think we could do it and set some people straight on what could have happened or should have happened. But you can catch DeAndre on BGPO Football Funk, and I'll get their banners up there so you know where to go on YouTube to find these guys. All right. Are you guys worried about this football? Is there anything besides that's not COVID related or crazy related to what may be different about this football season, but just football related? I'll start with you, DeAndre. Anything to be concerned about concerning this Clemson football team in 2020?
Well, I'm interested in seeing what the secondary is going to look like. Goodrich and I forgot the other kid name, but I'm waiting for them. The one that punched the Louisville player,
Booth.
Booth. Yeah, I'm waiting to see what they look like. Also want to see the defensive front seven is going to be awesome. But the offensive line, Pillman, who they beat all, who was a 4-star offensive lineman last year. I want to see what he does and how the offensive line is going to look at Clemson in a running back battle, because you got a kid out of Florida, thinking that Bowman, he's coming in, and then you got Dixon back there. And I want to say Clemson had a highly recruited running back last year out of Florida. I think his name was like Mule or something like that. M-U-L. Melissy. Yeah, so I'm interested in seeing all of that. Clemson's going to have a great football season. The ACC is what it is. I keep trying to tell people the ACC is going to be better this coming up year with Virginia Tech, Carolina, and Miami. I hold my breath on that one, but Florida State, them too. But I think the ACC is going to be better. But I think Clemson is a class better than everybody else, and I think them and Ohio State is on a collision course. I hear some people talk about Bama and Oregon, but I think those two are on a collision course. I think they're by far the best two teams in the country that's coming up here.
Pigskin, what makes this football team a little bit different, or what are you concerned about? What stands out to you?
Well, it's going to be experienced. The offense is going to be as good as an offense as I've had. I mean, at least personnel-wise. And I have no reason to believe with Tony Elliott still being there, I know Jeff Scott's gone, but with Tony Elliott still being there, that you're going to see much of a difference in the way that games are planned for and the type of play calling they do. Which by the way, a lot of times don't quite agree with the play calling strategy that they use. They love to run the quarterback, in my opinion, too much. But that's just a part of what they do there. It's part of what Dabo Swinney's done since he's taken that job over as an offensive head coach. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing some of these new. I always like to see the new guys coming in. Brian Brzee I probably haven't been as excited about a incoming freshman as I was since maybe Deshaun Watson came in. Now, of course, he's on the defensive side of the ball, and with the terrible news about Justin Ross being out for the season, had shoulder/back surgery last week, so he's definitely out for 2020. But EJ Williams coming in is a very, very highly rated, much anticipated wide receiver. He'll be a true freshman. Of course, they're still loaded. They still have Amari Rogers. They still have all the other wide receivers there, plus the three great running backs that John Dre just named. So I'm looking forward to some of these new guys, mainly Brzee on the defensive side of the ball and EJ Williams on the offensive side of the ball.
What you got there, Brian?
Oh man, what I want to see Brzee. I want to see. Goodness, I mean, like when I look at the names of our cornerbacks right now, these are our cornerbacks. Just four of them. Mario Goodrich, highly recruited. Darion Kendrick, need I say more? Andrew Booth, Sheridan Jones. I mean, there has got to be some fire and craziness that is there. Mike Jones, looking forward to seeing him at linebacker. We're not replacing Isaiah Simmons. You don't replace an Isaiah Simmons. That's out of the question. The concern that I do have, 100% experienced offensive line. Offensive line is my question. We only return Jackson Carman, and we lose 4 offensive linemen. Now, the guys who are coming back, I mean, they're not chump change. And we have Robbie Caldwell, leading the charge here. So we have the ability at, obviously, running back and quarterback, and we have a lot of great players. I believe that they can get us to a place to where they can extend plays. The offense is going to call plays. The OC is going to call plays that is going to give the offensive line time to get their feet under them in a game time experience. From that point, we're just hoping that by the end of the year, which I believe they're going to make a run yet again, I mean, they're the front runners for the national championship, to get into the playoffs, it's just, will that O-line be ready for the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the whoever's? I don't think anybody's worried about Oklahoma. Yeah, I just took a dig at you. I mean, play better football. I'll show some respect for you. But when you get there to the big game, you have to be ready, because that is when big boy football really comes out, and they have the Chase Youngs, and they have all these great players that's played in the past. So the O-line is my main concern.
Talking Clemson football with these three, we got Brian Knight, a.k.a. Bobby Durkins, right next to me. Pigskin Pete, of course. Catch his channel right here on YouTube, Talking Clemson and the Nation. And DeAndre, BGPO Football Funk. I tell you, DeAndre, it has taken me countless weeks and months to get that name in my head, those letters. We're going Pittsburgh Steelers, right? We got Clemson. We got black and gold and purple and orange, right?
Yeah, East Carolina, too, where I graduated from.
Oh, you got East Carolina mixed in there too?
Yeah, because remember their colors is purple and gold. So you got the P and the G.
Okay. Wow, you're clever. Step ahead of me on that one. Boy, you got 3 teams on two color codes. Very nice. Well done. Well done. All right. This program, it was just interesting to watch. So Florida State owned the ACC. Won that national championship with Jameis Winston, made the college football playoff the next year, 2014. 2015, they played a classic game. Florida State had really beaten down Clemson the 2 previous years, and that being the game of the year in the ACC. Now we don't even have a game of the year in the ACC. Clemson just owns the ACC, at least at that point. It's nice when you got a little bit more balance at the top, but we didn't have it then. But at least we had one game where we were like, okay, when do Florida State and Clemson play? And you just saw that transition take place where in 2015, 16, 17, they played really good games, but Clemson took over, and now, wow, it's gone. It's just Florida State and Miami should be able to compete based on the talent in their own backyard. But Pigskin, what do you think about this ACC, and are you worried about anyone? I know you're not worried about anyone. Is there any concern out there? Any hope for the conference?
I think there's hope for the conference. I'm looking towards North Carolina to be the shining light, especially in the Coastal Division. I really like what Mac Brown's doing there. He's recruiting really well. Well, I mean, I know it's still early, but he's got a top 10 recruiting class in the making already, and that's pretty much unheard of at the University of North Carolina. Also, I think Louisville is going to take a step up this year. I mean, the way that the Bobby Petrino left them, they were in a bad way. They could have easily gone the way of Florida State after Jimbo Fisher left, but they didn't. They went out and made a really good hire in Scott Satterfield. They continued to at least recruit on the level that Petrino was recruiting on. So I think Louisville's a team that can make some noise. Unfortunately for Louisville, they're in Clemson's division. So they're, the Coastal Division is wide open. I think there's 4 or 5 teams that can win that division. And that's played out over the past 7 years. There's been 7 different winners of that division. So, but yeah, I think North Carolina is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Florida State to see if they can make some sort of a rebound. And then of course, Miami. This is now year 2 of their head coach's tenure there. And so that's, you get that 2 to 3 year window, and then people start getting impatient. So I think year 2 is huge for Miami. What can they do?
Yeah, what do you guys think about the ACC, DeAndre? I know it's been a favorite subject of ours between you and me.
Like I said, Clemson, Florida State. I really think Florida State's going to be really good this year. But Wake Forest is not going to beat Clemson. But Wake Forest is pretty good. I think Hartman started before Jamie Newman did. And they got that tall receiver, Sharaf. So you got some pretty good teams there. I saw a thing that somebody's talking about the Miami defensive lineman. I don't know his name, about how good he is, and he's a dark horse for the Heisman. And people say he's on Trey Young's level. So there's a lot of talent in the ACC, and it's coming. It's going to be better than it was last year. And people pick on me for saying that I think it's going to be better than the Big Ten. Mainly you, Mark. You get on me for that one. But I mean, I really think you got some deep teams. I don't know how you can compare who got some better conference outside of the SEC is that they're so top heavy. But the ACC in the middle is going to be pretty good. I think Clemson's going to run away with it for another year. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Carolina's going to be really good. I think, man, you talked about it before. They only lose their center. You got a good coach at Boston College. Mendenhall is very good at Virginia. They just got a transfer. I think he came from Mississippi State. So you got some pretty good teams and good coaches. So we just have to see how it falls throughout the year. Like I said, Louisville is excellent this coming up year, but I like Virginia Tech and Carolina.
Louisville's going to be excellent.
Well, when I say excellent, 9-3.
Okay. All right. 9-3.
I was just looking at Louisville's schedule, and of course, with them returning the majority of their team, you got Satterfield. I mean, what a hire! What? And I'm going to stop here. Here's a 10-second rant on schools who did not hire Satterfield. What part of your anus were you thinking with when you didn't go after him? I'm just asking. I cleaned that up as best I possibly could. What were you high on, and don't you ever smoke it again when you looked over all of college football at people who was not a huge name but had a ton of promise, and you didn't hire him? Yeah, you should be fired. But getting back to the subject, Louisville, I mean, they got him, man. He's so talented, and we saw him take them from just the absolute dumpster fire into a competitive football team. So I see them. They're a team that we need to really pay attention to. Clemson does. I mean, it's a dark horse of them upsetting us. We need to pay attention, respect them. Of course, we got the Notre Dame game. But as far as the response, the response to the conference going on, somebody said in the comments down here said Miami is the best team in the nation, and I totally agree with you. In 2000, 2001, they were absolutely the best team in the nation back then. North Carolina totally growing. I have really good friends with someone who was a huge North Carolina fan, and when they hired Mac Brown, he was angry. He was like, we just, who are we going to hire? Oh, Mac Brown washed up on the shores of North Carolina. Well, guess what? That old dude came in and absolutely made a team who was pissy over the past, for a while, made them look incredible, rejuvenated. They were competing. And I look to see them to do that again, especially in that division. So I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, I'm happy to be a Tiger. I'm happy with what we're doing. I'm happy that once again, our team's showing solidarity and just absolutely killing it. But for the rest of the ACC, I think that we have some good coaches in here. Can they turn the corner? That's just the question. I think a few of them can. And I think Satterfield's one of them.
Yeah, like you guys, I'm intrigued by North Carolina. I sat there watching them annihilate Temple by 6 touchdowns in the bowl game, and I thought, man, I got to do a video on this team because they are looking good, man. Mac Brown has come back, dusted off after 6 years, turned it right around in regards to 2 and 3 wins 2 consecutive years, and bam, they go 7-6. Of Of course, Sam Howell threw 38 touchdowns. They got their 3 best wide receivers coming back, Newsome and Corrales and Brown. 2,000, near 1,000-yard backs. They're both back. DeAndre highlighted the offensive line. Everybody's back. 4 out of 5 at least. Most of their production on defense in regards to interceptions, sacks, tackles for loss, back. And what's great about North Carolina's schedule is before they dip into that marginal coastal division, before that, they've got a date with UCF and they've got a date with Auburn. And to see them on the field with 2 really good football teams from out of conference, it's going to be interesting to see, okay, how good is this team? Before they start slugging it out with Pitt and Georgia Tech and those kind of teams every week.
Well, excuse me, but Pitt is another team that you got to look at. They got a returning quarterback. I mean, what were they last year? I can't remember their record, but I sometimes the quarterback could be the biggest difference in the season. And they gave Penn State a hard time. It was, 17-10?
They either went 6-6 or 7-5. They won their bowl game over that vaunted Eastern Michigan program.
Yeah, but my
like 3 points.
We don't know how, especially with the COVID going on, we don't know how these guys are developing over time. And you got a mature quarterback, you never know. And they don't got Penn State on the schedule this year. So you just never know with some teams how's it going to turn out.
Yeah, I think every team in the Coastal has a chance to win that division. So I'm including the entire Coastal side to make noise in the ACC, and then the Atlantic is going to be between Clemson and probably Louisville. I don't really have much faith in Florida State yet. Of course, they have more talent than Louisville does, but I think the coaching staff at Louisville is better right now.
I think you guys are bringing anybody else up as a challenger to Clemson.
Well, there really is nobody on paper that can challenge Clemson in the entire conference. No,
because Scott Satterfield's really good, and yeah, he took a 2-10 dumpster fire and turned it into a 7-win team that won a bowl game. Beat an SEC team in a bowl game, so they go 8-5. Yeah, but Brian, there's no question what you outlined about Scott Satterfield. That's a pretty remarkable turnaround. But there's still quite a gap. You got to think that the recruiting rankings that comprise that 4-year roster on Louisville's side is probably in the 30s to 40s.
Here's what I'll say. When I say a chance to challenge Clemson, as far as the overall record and winning the ACC, none of them. I'm talking about on a 1-game scenario, whether it's in the regular season or during the ACC championship game. Which one of these teams is best suited to upset Clemson in a 1-game scenario? That's where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah, anybody outside of Clemson, I'll say this real quick, DeAndre, basically is rooting for North Carolina to be as good as we all hope they can be, just so we can see an ACC championship game that's going to be not 62-21 or whatever it was last year, 42-10 like the year before. These have just become just brutal to watch, and most people don't watch it because the Big Ten's playing at the same time, and we know that Clemson's going to win the ACC championship. It's just been a coronation, so hopefully we get a North Carolina team that's got a fighting chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I was about to say, the thing about Scott Satterfield being at App State in the cold and be able to get that type of speed, it's something that guy's doing that he's able to get that. Because I think he gave Penn State a pretty good game. I know Tennessee's on the Tennessee of old, but Tennessee, Carolina, and South Carolina have more talent than App State. And that guy hired for whatever he built is just amazing.
Yeah, you're just building on Brian's point because, that year before he took an App State team to Happy Valley against a top 10 Penn State team and took them to overtime.
I'm sorry.
I can coach.
Oh, yeah. So, but you got something.
And think about this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brian. I'm good.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, DeAndre. Please go ahead. Seriously.
No, my son was talking to me. I came in the room.
He was talking to you.
Yeah.
You tell him you're talking to Bobby Durkins, and it's time to. No, I'm kidding. No, what I was going to say was, that's what I come back to with Satterfield. And I know we're parking here because he was such a bright spot as a coach this past season, and you think about the whole thing that Tennessee went through, and they're flying all over the place looking for these coaches, and it's like, guys, he's like, get him out. He's just right over here. Go see him. Go hire him. Though I think Jeremy Pruitt is a good coach, and we'll see how that all works out. You know what I'm saying? I think Satterfield would have been an amazing hire at the University of Tennessee. Louisville got him. I think they scored big there. And I agree with you, Pete. That's what I was saying, was in a one-game situation to where you look at your team and you say, guys, we bring everything to the table we've ever thought about having brought to the table. I mean, think about Louisville beating Florida State back in the early 2000s when Florida State was Florida State. I mean, they were incredible, and they did it. In a one-game scenario, that's one team I look at and go, yeah, we better not sleep on them. I mean, and watch this. We'll go out and we'll beat them by 4 touchdowns. Everybody rewinds this video and goes, Brian's an idiot. Well, ask my wife. She can go ahead and tell you that I'm an idiot. But with that said, in a one-game scenario, I believe Satterfield is not only good enough, I know he's good enough to where he could get his team just jacked up to come out and run the table with us. So we better be on our game when we play them.
Brian Baird with the Super Chat contribution. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And also your comment that his 70-plus-year-old parents went with he and his wife to the protest. So, Brian, we appreciate you sharing that information. And, of course, thank you so much for the Super Chat contribution as well. Guys, I know that you only committed for an hour, but I think we really need to stay on for another hour and discuss this comment made here by Bernard. I don't know if we might have a serious argument on our hands here. Clemson is the class of the ACC. I don't see it. I think we're going to have to work through this one.
I can disagree with them. I disagree with them because Clemson's the class of the entire country, not just the ACC.
Yeah, I think this is going to take like breaking down rosters, and this is going to take some advanced metrics to dig this one out, because I just don't know. I'm not convinced.
Excuse me. What about the Big 12? I mean, I rarely see you talk about it. Do you really think Texas is back, like they always say, or what?
Are you talking to me, DeAndre?
Yeah, I don't know if you talk about the Big 12 like that.
I think Texas is just as talented as Oklahoma, if you believe in recruiting rankings, but Lincoln Riley's an offensive genius. And maybe for the first time in 4 or 5 years, he's got a quarterback on his hands that we know that he's coming in as the #1 rated quarterback out of high school and a 5-star, but we haven't seen it on the field at Oklahoma. So there could be an opportunity for Texas there. And Texas has actually played Oklahoma well head-to-head. They just have issues with the rest of the conference.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait for college football. Oregon, Ohio State, I'm hoping the games get played. Carolina, Auburn, Clemson, Notre Dame sometime. Pete, I'm glad they bought my tickets, though. I'm glad they bought
I got my tickets, but I bought the insurance too. So if there's no game, I get my money back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up there.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for one of these guys' spouses or friends or whatever to drop out, and then I'm just going to go and take the extra ticket. So I'm just hanging out.
Well, I always go to the Wake Forest. I always go to Clemson, Wake Forest, or whoever they're playing locally. If it's Carolina, well, they play State and Wake Forest here every year, so they rotate. So a lot of times I go to the Wake Forest game. So that Wake Forest is a good place to watch a game. Not a lot of people. You have more Clemson fans in there than you do Wake Forest fans. So I love it. You don't got to be harassed by nobody.
Hey, I bet you there's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised to see at least 50% Clemson fans at Notre Dame, maybe more.
Yeah. I happened with Georgia a couple years ago. They said Georgia was buying more tickets than Notre Dame fans at Notre Dame. It was like they just turned it out.
Yeah.
So can't wait for it. Hey, question: who would y'all like to see Clemson play that they never played, like Wisconsin or Oregon or Texas, which is shocking. I'm shocked they never played Texas. Or I know they played Southern Cal, UCLA. Who would y'all like to see them play that they haven't played yet?
I'm going to go with Texas on that one. That'd be good. Or Oregon, too. That's another.
I would say, yeah, I like both of those. If Southern, and I don't think they've played Southern Cal. I could be wrong. But if Southern Cal could get back to playing really good ball,
I got
would like
another
to
one.
see them play Southern Cal.
Michigan. They've never played Michigan before either.
But they'll blow them out.
Oh, my God.
Wait a minute, DeAndre. They're not going to blow out Texas, but they're going to blow out Michigan. There's no way you can justify that based on the results on the field the last couple of years.
Well, they beat Ohio State, and Ohio State beat Michigan every year, so that's my justification.
I would say I would pick Clemson to beat Michigan, but I don't know about blowing them out though. They got a really good. They've had a really good defense for the past 5 years.
I got them, but they don't got no offense. They won't score.
Yeah.
I just want to see the interaction between the happiest coach in the world, Dabo Swinney, walking to midfield to shake hands with one of the most bizarre coaches in all the way down to T-ball sports. And I think that when they shake hands, a sonic boom would happen. We couldn't contain the happiness and the weirdness just touching each other at one time, and it would be over.
Michigan, Clemson. I'm going to go somewhere in the 34-17 range.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
I can take that.
I mean, I consider that to be a blowout, but that's two touchdowns.
Yeah, it depends how the game's played. It could be a lot closer than that, and then it stretches out late, or that could be a blowout.
Mark, are you worried about Penn State this year?
What's that, DeAndre?
Are you worried about Penn State this year?
Yeah, worried about Penn State. Yeah, games in Happy Valley in front of nobody. But yeah, should be concerned with Penn State a little bit. I guess they can have a white out. They can, paint all the seats white. Possibly they could do that. But sure, Penn State's a talented team. They've recruited in the top 7 to 10 in the country. The roster's loaded. I have questions about their quarterback. He didn't play good against anybody with a pulse last year. He built up all his stats against the bad teams, and he had real struggles against anybody that was good defensively last year.
Hey, guess who took a trip down to Clemson, South Carolina, spend a few days there at the facility and see how Dabo runs things?
Big James Franklin, I guess.
It sure was.
So he's kind of maybe comparing his record against Ohio State to Dabo's and saying, maybe I need some of this to rub off.
Hey, I'm just saying, I don't make the rules. He went down there and is getting some pointers from old Dabo. That's all I know.
He's you win at Vanderbilt, you got to be a pretty good coach. So,
yeah.
Well,
that's
9-4 twice in a row. Yep.
Yeah.
He beat Georgia too, didn't he?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I believe so. Mm-hmm. Brian, we thank you so much again for your super chat contribution and reminding George that he needs to love his neighbor as himself, as it says in the good book. That would solve everything as well. Yes. Treat everybody the way you want to be treated.
And if we live life like that, we will be happy. I just made a supervisor roll out of prison. That's why I told him I don't know everything, but I'm going to treat you like I want to be treated. And I used to have supervisors yell at me, and I'm like, why are you yelling? We all grown here. If I did something wrong, just show me what I did. And that's part of the problem in our society. We don't know how to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's evident. Yeah. That's evident by reading the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know, Pigskin, if Swampy McGee.
It's crazy, man.
I don't know if Swampy McGee.
Hi.
Hey, man, what's going on?
What's up, dude?
Here you go, man.
What is going on tonight?
Yeah, my little man came in the room. Yeah, He hates football. He got a cousin that's a nerd, and she said football dangerous. You don't need to play soccer. I'm like, they make more money.
Oh, the soccer players are making more money these days? I would have no idea.
Yeah. yeah, by a lot. So
I was just starting to ask a Pigskin if he has a Swampy McGee jumping in any of his live chats. So this guy is just golden for posting biographical information on any subject matter. So letting us know that Cleveland Farrell was the Oakland Raiders first round selection in 2019 and the 4th overall pick. He is great for that.
I don't believe I have seen him before on my channel. I don't know what he's doing. He needs to get it together and to come over.
Yeah, come on over there, Swampy McGee. Pigskin, check out his shows, and you can leave your he says his cameo ready for the show. Yes, he can type up these statistical lines and bio facts for just about anybody. All right, guys, I think we've done some decent work here. Thanks to you three. Brian Knight, a.k.a. Bobby Durkins, here right on YouTube. Of course, Pigskin Pete. You got to catch his show. Pigskin Pete right here on YouTube. And DeAndre, our guy with BGPO Football Funk. And I've gained a higher degree of respect for that name now that I know that we've incorporated 3 teams into the 2-color schemes. Fascinating. Well done.
DeAndre's a 3-teamer. How about that?
people, I know you're a Carolina fan, Pigskin. People say, well, you live in Carolina. How you a Pittsburgh Steelers fan? I said, well, I'm older than the Panthers. So why would I root for a team that just got founded when I was 19 years old and I love football my whole life? That's what I tell them, man. I don't get that. And I say, y'all the traitors. I mean, y'all just because they got a team. That's what I tell them.
Well, Pigskin, were you down there when the Panthers started in '96?
It's 95, but
95?
yeah, I've been down here my whole life. So
I think I always say 96 because they went to the championship game in '96, their second year.
Let's see, 1995, they also played their very first season in Death Valley at Clemson.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Are they going to be any good this year?
No. And I hope they aren't. I'm looking for them to hopefully draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields next year.
That might be decent. I don't know.
They ain't gonna be good. No.
All right, guys, it's been a good time. I appreciate you all taking the time to put this together and help me out and talk some Clemson football.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, Mark.
All right, Mark, you have a great night. I enjoyed it, gentlemen.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'll remind everyone that we typically do a call-in show late on Sunday night, so stay tuned for that. At some point late tonight, we'll nail that down, and we got Florida State Live coming up Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So, again, thank you, Brian, Pigskin Pete, DeAndre. Thank you so much. It was great.
All right, guys.
All right.